nor should it be. Oklahoma. I was thinking about this. I don't know why, but last night getting ready to kind of crash a little bit. Thought about Oklahoma. I can't, and Craig, you can. You're a fan of OU, but like you used to be able to rattle off 15, 18 names. And that doesn't mean I can't now, but are they loaded or was last year just a transition year with Brent Venables? Have they restocked a lot of what they've had in the past and what we expect from the Sooners?
Compared to what, Lincoln Riley?
No, I don't think you can. I don't think you can compare that to the end of where he was. Yeah. No.
I mean, they've added some good pieces. They've added some, interesting names. They've added some talented guys. They've tried to, revamp in particular the defensive side of the ball. But no, I don't think that they're loaded. I don't think that they're, bursting at the seams with talent per se. I need to see a little bit more before I start just buying into the offseason narratives. I mean, I don't mean to sound jaded, but been around college football long enough to know, like, everybody's positive during spring, and if you're not, then something's really going wrong, and you're really in some potential deep trouble. So I think it's just natural for everybody to have, higher hopes. But, it was certainly a rocky year one, and Venables, needed to do something. He couldn't just run it back with the squad the way that it was. They lost some talented players, but I think that, they should be equally, if not far more talented, I would think, next year, just given the time to settle in and the transfer portal and having more of their, fingerprints on this roster. But, yeah, they're not the slam dunk layup, however you want to refer to it, to go win the Big 12 that they've pretty much always been. In fact, I don't even know if they'd be the number 2 team that you'd say in the Big 12 right now. Question would be, where do they fit in? They the 3rd favorite? They the 4th favorite? I don't know. I don't think that they're top 2. I think that Texas and K-State would be pretty good bets, and of course you can throw Tech in there if you want to, or TCU, or whoever else. Maybe somebody has Oklahoma up there in that top 2, but it used to be them, and then that was the easiest question to answer, and then it's everybody else. But, no, that's certainly not the case. So, no, I don't think that they have the level of talent that they've been accustomed to, at least offensively. But defensively, that's where Venables should make the biggest difference, you would think. And then Lebby over on offense, they took their lumps, but you run it back with Gabriel. You do lose, a Marvin Mims and an Eric Gray, but I don't think that they're, like, totally irreplaceable either. So I'm very curious about, what to expect, because typically you could just say, oh, well, they'll be in the Big 12 title mix, and no one would argue with that. I think you could still probably go that route, but I don't know that anybody has just, rock-solid confidence that will be the case any longer.
Who of these 2 schools, Texas, who just wrapped up their spring game, and Joey McGuire, year 2 at Texas Tech, and am I missing somebody else? Perhaps it's Kansas State. They have their quarterback back, and they were really, really good, lost some key people. Who among those teams in the Big 12, 1, 2, or 3, and you can do this in the chat room or the text line, which is 254-339-1122. Garrett, your thoughts too. Who has the most hype? Not just off-season hype. Who has the most hype or momentum, along with who they have coming back in the Big 12 this year in football?
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, Texas, without a doubt.
Would Texas Tech be in the top 2 or 3? I'm not saying picking them.
I think Texas Tech are going to play for the Big 12 championship.
Do you really?
I do.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'd say that they're, I just mentioned them. If you have them up in front of Oklahoma, I don't really see a huge problem with that, or any problem with that. I think if you have TCU above Oklahoma, I don't see they replace a lot. I mean, that's the thing, is they do have to replace a lot of talent. It's not just your typical, you lost a couple guys. Like, you lost a Thorpe Award winner. You lost basically every offensive weapon that mattered for you in a huge way at various points. Getting Jared Wiley back, like, hey, that soothes some of it, but you're still talking Quentin Johnston and Max Duggan and so on and so forth. So it's hard to think that they'll just run it back, transfer portal or not. But going and getting JoJo Earl and guys like that, maybe they do just slip right back into it to where they were. Although the playoff run's going to be, I'm not buying that happening again this year. But competing for the Big 12, I don't think that that's crazy. But yeah, I think Texas Tech's right there in that mix. You win 8 games last year. You bring basically every player back but Tyree Wilson. There's really no excuse to not be in the mix. Now, I will say that 8-4, could have gone a little bit differently. You know, the Oklahoma and Texas games in particular, those are their big calling cards. You look at the Oklahoma game now, Dylan Gabriel gets hurt right at the beginning of overtime because, well, they just decided, like, let's put the ball in our quarterback's hands, and didn't work out very well. The Texas game, Bijan Robinson fumbles, I mean, you know, right outside of the end zone, and those two things were very fortunate turns of luck or just forcing plays. And maybe they do that in every game again next year and you get the same results. But, you know, those were a couple that broke their way. So I'm just saying all that to say that, you know, maybe look at like 8-4 is maybe a little bit ahead of the curve, and maybe they're like to where you don't go like, okay, well, now they're won 9 or 10 this year. I'm just not ready to fully go all on board with that. But if they were to do that, I wouldn't be necessarily totally shocked because of all the players they have coming back and just the belief they seem to have built up there. So, yeah, I definitely think that they belong in that upper